Welcome back, everyone. My name's Alex. That's Eileen, and you're watching Straight to the Chicane podcast. And today we're going to be talking about the Monaco GP. But first, we have to talk a little bit about what's happened since the last time we saw you guys. So we were expecting there to be an Imola race.
Yes, we were amped up to the start of a triple header.
And that didn't really end up happening because we had torrential downpour, dangerous situations.
6 months of rain in like one day.
Yeah,
or 2 days.
A couple hours, a matter of like 36 hours or something like that. Yeah, insane. There was no way for them to be able to race. Some of the photos that we saw.
I mean, it was flooded all the way around the track, so it was the right thing.
It was definitely.
Can't imagine racing there. Best way to put it, the first responders had bigger things to do than a Formula One race.
That is correct. They didn't need to be sitting around waiting and watching, millionaires drive around. You're right about that.
Right.
You're right about that. But yeah, what else did we got going on? We had a couple other big news things kind of like leading into this because I feel like since there was no racing for a week, there was like, what else can we do to kind of get clicks?
How can we stir the pot?
Right. So the biggest one, I think I got to just say it, was the Ferrari offer to
the
Lewis.
$40 million alleged offer to Lewis Hamilton to go to Ferrari. Yes.
But no one said no, it hasn't.
They all have said no, it hasn't.
Are you sure?
Yes.
They've all said no?
Fred.
Okay.
Lewis. Those are the two most important people. There is no offer. There's no discussion. There's nothing on the table. I'm like, we are pure speculation.
Okay.
But yes, no, it's quite interesting. I mean, even Toto has said, that they're in, I think, the final stages of discussion contracts with Lewis. So
it's all just been clickbait, and I don't think you need to know anything about it. As far as I'm concerned, Lewis is staying with Mercedes.
Yeah, and I keep seeing all these things that are like, Red Bull doesn't want Lewis and Ferrari doesn't want Lewis, so he has to stay at Mercedes like it's a bad thing. Like he hasn't, won so many championships there, and the team has won 8 consecutive Constructors' Championships. Why would he leave? And he said, he's been on the record so many times saying, I'm going to stay with them. This is my team. He's been with Mercedes, obviously started with McLaren, but he's been a Mercedes driver since he was, 12, 13?
Something like that.
Yeah, I just can't imagine him going there.
Yeah.
So.
You're right. So I think we can just move on from that then.
False.
False.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
So that kind of,
Hopefully.
What else was there? I forget. We kind of were talking a little bit earlier about some other things that were kind of happening. Most of the drivers, they all went to the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah, they did.
Because they had the time and they had the,
Looking sharp. I think the Aston Martin drivers had an event, so they both went. And then Lewis was there, of course.
Yeah.
Pierre was there. And Esteban was there. Esteban took his mom, which was really cute. So.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, there was that. And then Lance Stroll's sister got married. That was like the big event.
And there was people that were in the wedding, too, I think.
Danny Ricciardo was a groomsman. Okay. Yes. So, I mean, it looked like they had like 10 groomsmen and bridesmaids, but it was like the talk of F1 for, not the weekend of Imola, but the weekend before. So that weekend in between.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of drama speculation that Lawrence Stroll wasn't there. And so, there was a lot of F1 community that had to do some digging deep to find photos of him like walking in. So, but it was a star-packed wedding. So,
that's cool.
As expected for a billionaire family.
You're right about that. So then kind of like leading up into now the Monaco race, what we learned was they resurfaced the track pretty much going into it. And now they are bringing was Porsche Cars series. Formula 3 and Formula 2 because I think they wanted to help put some more rubber down on that, what they would consider the track there in Monaco to, help these Formula 1 cars because it's a new surface. They resurfaced, I guess. That's how they're saying it.
So we got to see the Leclerc brothers race the same weekend, so that was like a special tribute event. Yep. They both wore white and red racing suits in tribute to their dad. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, so I actually really liked the white suit. I'm like, it looked really sharp, but it was special because it was just for the two of them. So obviously Carlos didn't race with the white.
No,
so
I didn't see that.
Special number decal, special helmet, special suit. So pretty cool.
Yeah, and then on Friday, Sebastian Vettel showed up for practice and hung out with some of the drivers.
What a sight to see.
Did he stop in at Aston Martin?
He did.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Yeah, he stopped in an Aston Martin, probably said, why didn't you give me this car last year?
Yeah.
What the hell? And then we, of course, saw him and Lewis together, which was, a
Always
special
good
moment.
to see.
So, yeah, it was good to see him back in the paddock.
Yeah, do you think we'll see him back in the paddock in the future in a side of a car?
I don't know. I mean, he said that he's like bored or it feels different, but he's really enjoying spending time with his kids. So.
Oh, I'm sure.
I don't know.
I mean, he's a very rich man. He's won a lot of races and got trophies.
Yeah, I think
he's got a trophy room.
Well, of course, yeah, many championships. But I think at the end of the day, he's just got different projects that he wants to do too, from a personal perspective. So yeah, no. But leading into the weekend, I'm like, we had a tighter championship battle at the top with the two Red Bull drivers. So, coming into another street circuit, which we've had now 5 out of the first 6 races have been street circuits. So, Sergio being the king of the streets, winning Monaco last year, kind of expected to see, some excitement, a little bit of a Red Bull tussle.
I feel like he had some issues because during practice he had hit the wall and made some errors in practice this weekend.
There was a lot of mistakes.
There was. I mean, throughout the whole entire weekend, even throughout the race, throughout qualifying and throughout practice, people were pushing the limits. Honestly, we saw Leclerc, we saw Carlos.
We saw Carlos pull the same move as Leclerc,
and I thought that's what it was.
I think I speak for
deja vu for me.
Yeah, I think I speak for everybody, and obviously yourself. I assumed that it was Leclerc too, but it was Carlos. So, no, we saw a lot of mistakes. I mean, obviously the big thing leading into the weekend, and we talked about it from Miami, was our excitement for seeing the new Mercedes, the 14B. And the highly anticipated upgrades that they were going to be bringing to Imola. So this speculation, of course, was, are they going to bring it to such a, different type of circuit, a street circuit? And, a lot of people were saying that they shouldn't bring their upgrades to this track because it's a dangerous track to make mistakes.
Yeah, because the thought is if you do hit the wall and you damage that, how many extra parts of the new build do they have ready to go?
I think they were so far into it that it was going to be taking place for Imola that they had no choice.
Yeah, so I think they probably had enough backups for this race because they were planning for Imola. Right, and I think you bring it no matter what because you're bringing it for Imola, you're going to bring it here.
Yeah, no, I know. And you just expect your drivers to, they have a good group, good set.
And so on Friday, Lewis was saying now that he has a new car, he was feeling it, kind of. I think at the practice one, he was on the top of the charts, if I remember correctly.
He was P3.
Okay, so near the top of the charts. I know he put down a really good run.
Now, Max had a really tough practice one. He did not agree with the setup of his car, so I'm like, he
flipped that around for him.
He shook it up a little bit because normally we see Max, I feel like P1, he's always in the top 3 every practice session. So he was not happy with it. His team was like, you're going to have to just deal with it for this session and then we'll fix it, you know, which they did. And then, of course, P2, P3, he was top. So it looked good.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, so we officially have side pods back on the Mercedes.
We do.
So
it looks more like I think they're kind of saying it's not a Red Bull car, it's not a Ferrari car.
I feel like it took
like an Alpine
inspiration from Alpine and Aston Martin is like what, I'm hearing the most. So, but it looks so much better.
You like it? Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be a better car for them.
Well, it doesn't look like...
I think it looks... I like the way the no side pods look, personally.
Like a dolphin.
I thought it looked like a jet plane. A fighter plane, like an F-15.
Sure.
The way those, that's what I thought.
Okay. Well, I think it's nice to see side pods.
But that was not the fastest way to go, so we were wrong. And just because it looks good to me doesn't mean it's fast.
Are you the engineer? You didn't design it.
No, I know.
But you liked it.
I did like it.
Yes. So, I mean, really, we didn't get a true reflection of what their pace was, but George was struggling, I think, more so in practice. Lewis looked better in practice 1 and practice 2.
Yeah.
And George was kind of inconsistent up and down. Practice 3, George looked better, and then Lewis hit the wall. So Lewis ended the, session.
He did.
And
he was on the other side of the track, the farthest way you could probably get, and had a walk back. I don't know if he got a ride or not. I didn't see any photos of him giving him a ride, so I imagine he walked.
Who knows? Now, we saw that, and then, of course, the crane situation. So Mercedes comes with this brand new car, this whole a new floor, a new wing, new side pods. Like, they brought everything.
Yeah.
They brought, like, all the upgrades.
Yep.
And then we've lifted 100 feet in the air for everybody to see the bottom. There's freaking photos everywhere, of course, of, you know.
So that's one of the things. If you don't follow, like, the major, like, tech part of it is that these engineers keep the floor a top secret. They try to hide
I've seen them like put it in a tarp before, you know, when there's been an accident.
So when you know how when they're in the garage and they put the little covers on it, that means they're exposing the floor.
Yeah.
And that's the only time they're allowed to cover their garage doors. Mm-hmm. So that's how important it is. So yeah, when we see Lewis's car get lifted, I don't know, 40, 50 feet in the air pretty easily. You know, it was like 3 or 4 stories in the air.
Yeah, Toto's not happy. Toto literally went on record and said it wasn't necessary for them to use a crane. They should have just put it on a truck on the track and driven it around.
But typically, I will tell you from what my experience watching the Monaco races over the years is that they typically use cranes there. They have a lot of cranes strategically placed throughout the city to help move the cars quickly off. And that's kind of how in Monaco they get it cleaned up so fast.
Well,
I mean, look how fast the cars were getting cleaned up.
No, I know. I said that, but they also did say that the like race control people, like the stewards and everything, that they train throughout the year for the Grand Prix, specifically in Monaco.
You know, and also typically, you know, this is the first year Formula One TV and Formula One have control of the television and all that stuff. We finally get a helicopter, which you saying you loved.
Yeah, no, it was much better. I mean, I think everybody remembers the Stroll incident from when the Monaco or like whatever television program used to run it. It took away like the one overtake that year in 2021, and we missed it because of that. So, I mean, the footage was much better. It is always great to see it from the helicopter view, and it was cool because we got to see like the actual overview of the track where you would see some people on one part of the circuit, other people on the back. So it was it was better, much better. So
yeah, it was. I don't think we missed too many things. There was a couple things we can talk about. Some of the crashes once the rain came in that they kind of missed, just because it seemed like there was a lot of action happening. Cars pitting.
It got pretty crazy those last 15 laps. That's for sure. So
you know, I'm gonna be honest. Since we're still kind of early on, you were like, it snooze fast.
Okay, so I normally Monaco. Listen, I feel like I've always ranked it on the lower end. I've only been watching Formula One since 2020, so 3 years, but. This was definitely the best Monaco Grand Prix I've seen. Now, of course, we didn't have a race in 2020, so I only saw 2021 and 2022. But I will say, you know, it's typically there's not a lot of overtaking. You know, it's more so about the hype and, you know, whatever. And then we had this great qualifying session coming into the race. Are we going to see some action in lap 1? And then it was like, you know, the first half of the race, it was looking very similar to last year, where there was the one race at the front, which really wasn't even a race today.
No, it wasn't.
And then there's an Alpine holding up the rest of the track because, as we remember from 2022, Alonso had a train behind him. So Ocon was this year.
Yeah.
But luckily, we got some rain.
So they were kind of talking about rain all week, and then it kind of got ramped up as kind of the race day kind of came along.
Yeah.
And they were saying it's a little ways, I think, north of this.
It was like looking like it was going to go the opposite direction, but if the wind changed.
And then it looked like it shifted, and it clearly did. But yeah, so yeah, let's kind of go back to practice. And because not only did we saw the bottom of Lewis's car and the Mercedes car, and then was it practice 3 or was it qualifying it was
qualifying
that we saw
for Sergio,
yeah, it was qualifying, and so they red flagged Q1 they red flagged for Sergio's car. You're right, that's exactly when it was, and they lifted his car up pretty high. I don't think it was as high because
it wasn't as high as the Mercedes, but
I think the Mercedes one just got blown out of proportion, and then it just became a meme, like literally.
It did. Well, the Red Bull did too. It was Red Bull gives you wings, and the car's in the air. So,
but this is like, yeah, it just was funny.
So how many teams are going to be building new floors based on the photos of the Red Bull?
A lot.
Everyone's coming with floor upgrades.
Probably. I believe those two exposed floors are definitely going to have some upgrades for other teams, for sure.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So, yes, qualifying.
Yeah, we can go ahead and talk about qualifying.
Yes. So, I think the big thing of the weekend, of course, is that Sergio crashed out in Q1. And, he had put in one banker lap, and I think he was like P3 or something, but the track was getting better and better and better. And he ended in last after everybody, put laps in.
There was talk he might have been able to hold out to P15, and he was almost there. Looked like he was clearly close to holding on to it, but then, he didn't make it. They all came in with a much...
Everybody came in. I mean, at one point, Joe was on P1. You remember? Alex Albon, Yuki Tsunoda was P2.
We were like, holy crap. He was
P2. So Max topped the charts in all qualifying sessions, but Yuki Tsunoda was P2 out of Q1. That's why everyone was like, Yuki's the highlight of the weekend, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I just think he had a good run, but the track was ramping up, and obviously some of the top drivers and top teams still had a lot more to give because they weren't hitting at their 100%. But you did start hearing some of the drivers saying, this is me giving it all. I heard Alonso say it. I heard Lewis say it, like, this is all I can give out of the car. Mm-hmm. This is maximum, you know? And so I think it was qualifying session 2. Lewis came in when there was like still time left or something like that, or was that Q3?
Well, can we just talk about Q1 first?
Go ahead.
This was like the best. First of all, this was like the best qualifying of the year so far.
It was very good.
Laura Winters said it was the best qualifying ever. Like,
she said ever, or was it?
She said ever. She said ever.
Okay. Then it was Will that said this year.
At the end of the post qualifying.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't know if it's the most qualifying ever, but it was pretty damn good. I mean, first of all, I didn't know if Lewis was going to make it out of Q1. He was in the drop zone.
He was in the drop zone.
He was in the drop zone, and Carlos was in the drop zone. Remember, they were like 17 and 19 or something. Yeah. And they come out, and, they're like both basically going right at the last minute. No time left on the board. Carlos was first, and then Lewis was like slower in sector 1. He was yellow, and then he ended up, coming through sector 2 and sector 3. But they both just squeaked through and made it. So Q1 was a little stressful. Then Q2, we saw Alex Albon get through, which was impressive, but he had to use like 3 sets of tires.
3 sets of tires
to get out of Q1. So, that definitely set him up for a tough situation.
Yeah.
And then Q2, it was, really it was like the Alonso back and forth, like who's going to be on pole, and they were at the top. Same thing here. We saw George and Lewis just squeak by. George was looking better in Q2.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I was rooting for Alonso the whole time, and really kind of hoping that he was on pole because he was putting in faster laps. This would be a perfect race for him to win. It was.
It was looking good, and who else was looking good was McLaren.
They looked a lot better.
And Norris specifically, like even in practice, was like in the top 7, so much better weekend. Not sure of their upgrades that they brought. I don't think it was like anything super major, but we did see Norris just get through to Q3, but he just made it through and he had crashed at the end of Q2. And Piastri was right on the bubble, so he just got nicked out by Norris.
Man, going into Q3. It was so intense because
it was crazy.
Because he hit his front axle and broke the steering column or whatever, the wishbone or whatever, and kind of went in to the wall. And that
he was able to make it back.
He was, but barely. Yeah. And they were able to do, you kept hearing the announcer say, it's a 20-minute fix, usually roughly a 20-minute fix. They did it in 10.
They did it in 16 minutes.
16. So they did it pretty dang quick, and they got him back out.
Yeah, he got out in Q3, was only able to do like 1 lap.
Yeah.
And then he got impeded by Leclerc on another flyer. So.
And then Leclerc got in trouble.
Leclerc who ended up qualifying P3.
Yep.
Got a 3-place grid penalty. So.
Yeah, which was kind of a bummer, but made everybody else kind of happy. I made Lewis and Ocon jump up.
Well, is that the reason that Ocon ended on the podium?
I would say it definitely helped.
Yeah.
It definitely helped because this is, it's all about qualifying here in Monaco. Unless you get crazy rain, which we kind of got, but these cars, for some reason, there was almost another race in a row that all the cars finished. Now, granted, Stroll ended up
and Magnussen
ended up going out, but I mean, it was almost all the laps.
It was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty intense. But we've got to talk about Q3 because Q3 was it was a star. It was the star of the weekend. Okay,
tell me more.
So I feel like it is all about qualifying, of course, but we were definitely rooting for Alonso to be on pole. Yeah. And
I mean,
he was literally purple. It was impressive. And he's like, I'm pushing like an animal right now, giving it everything. So we're seeing, of course, the track get better and better and better. And on their last laps, all of a sudden we see Ocon go P1. And it's like the most impressive lap. And we're like, what's going on? Ocon's on pole. Yeah. And Max, his first couple laps, he was like 2-3 tenths down.
He was. I think there was a couple of mistakes he had made, and I don't think he was quite there yet. But I mean, leave it down to the wire for Max.
Leave it down to the last lap.
And Red Bull is really good about their time strategy on making it so that they're usually like the last car.
Except for Singapore 2022, when he ran out of gas.
But typically, they're usually the last car to cross the line with the time left to be the last one to put down the last time.
Yeah,
and that's typically what he's done over the last few years, and they've been very successful with that strategy.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, Ocon, I think this weekend he was pretty flawless.
Yeah,
pretty flawless. I mean, his car broke down in practice, not his fault, in the tunnel, which was crazy. And so Alpine has had a tough start to the year, but that lap was something else. I mean, it was like linked up on all courses. So seeing him go P1 was pretty impressive. Then Alonso, just nicked him out. I think
we were all hyped for him.
Oh my God. It was Alonso. It was like amazing, the lap. And so Max comes out last lap. He's like last to go because the Mercedes ran out of fuel. Norris got impeded. We didn't see a whole lot, Leclerc had already put his lap in. Max comes out. His first sector is yellow. And then his second sector is green because Alonso has purple, sector 1 and sector 2. And then the last sector, which is the shortest sector, he pulls out 3 tenths.
I don't know how he did it. I was literally telling you as it was happening, I'm like, no way.
Oh, that was crazy. I was like, this is insane. So, I mean, pretty damn impressive. And I think at the end, he said I had to give it everything. He hit the wall twice. He thought he did damage to his front wheel, but I mean, what a lap. And that's, I think, like the masterclass was the qualifying of this weekend.
I mean, it was things like even like Lewis going into his final lap. I guess maybe it was Q1 at the time when he was like, the tires aren't ready.
It was Q2. The tires weren't ready, and they were going, and Bottom was like, you have to go.
I mean, honestly, if you want to watch something good, watch all of qualifying.
It was, and that was probably the first time that all 3 sessions were like nail biters.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, especially if you have favorite drivers. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, normally Q1, you're like, it's a snooze fest. These same people are going out.
But, I wouldn't say a snooze fest.
Normally Q1, it's like the slower cars that are on the bottom, like the AlphaTauris or whatever.
The bottom teams, yeah.
Okay, to see Yuki in Q1 go P2.
Yeah.
Okay, a little crazy.
Yeah.
And we were seeing all sorts of, it was like, every single person that put in a lap was going fastest or faster or whatever. And so it was just the change.
Yeah.
And then how close it was super impressive to see. Like qualifying was very close. It wasn't like a second ahead or, 5 tenths or whatever. So it was really good. Sad to see because I think we all wanted to see Alonso, but it was a great qualifying session.
It was. So that kind of led us up to the race. And really, again, I was still rooting for Alonso. I had Alonso on one of our TVs, just his on board, so we could watch.
One of our TVs.
Yeah, we went a little crazy this weekend because Put a whole bunch of TVs out for all the monitors of all the, so we can see all the things happening. So I think we were hoping for something, because I think when you put your predictions out, you had Max in second.
No, you had Max in second.
I had Max out.
I had Max winning.
Oh, okay. So I
had Max winning, and I had Alonso P2, and I had Hamilton P3. And it was close there for a minute that my top 3 prediction was going to be right, but just no overtaking. Monaco.
Yeah, so when lights went out the first lap, there was a little bit of bumping near turn 7, turn 8, kind of coming to that hairpin. There was a little bit of ruckus happening.
What, the bumper cars?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was lap 1, but I think it might have been lap 1 or lap 2.
It was lap 1.
Logan Sargent and somebody hit each other. There was a lot of bumper cars today.
There was.
It was like the Monaco bumper car section. But it was like 5 cars that all came together. Yep. Somebody got bumped. Somebody rear-ended somebody. Stroll was definitely in the mix. Poor Stroll. He was out of position for the race, and I swear, had so many incidents this race.
I think
that's why he probably ended up having to retire.
I think so, because he took wing damage multiple times.
Yeah.
He's definitely had some broken other little bits and pieces came off. I think he had
I think he drove over a part of Sergio's car.
And got a puncture.
It was just crazy.
Yeah, he had a rough race for sure, and it was right from the start for him. Yeah. I think I saw or heard, as Sergio starting from the back, started making some way, and he was on the hards, so he was
Sergio started on the mediums, so we definitely
was he the mediums?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
So we saw a mix of mediums and hards. It was medium, hard. So there was, what's it going to look like from a strategy component? But Sergio did start on the mediums, and I definitely think his first pit stop. First of 5.
You're right.
First of 5. I think that was the strategy.
He pitted lap 2 or 3.
Yeah, so he could just go all the way to the end.
He was on medium.
And he had clear air, so he was 30 seconds behind, and he was just, fastest lap. So he ended up catching up. Just, a lot of bad luck, but, he got into a few incidents, a few bumps.
He was set up for, though, what I was trying to say is that once he did go to the hards, because he did go so early, that's why I thought he started on him, he's had himself set up to just start picking up people as they pitted.
Right.
And he could have made his way up, and he was going to be in points for sure.
Yeah.
And, then just incidents happened for him. So, I don't know, we got through over halfway through the race before really people started talking about rain. And it was kind of boring. You were right. There was not a whole lot of action happening. Space was falling between. It was really becoming a two-horse race.
It was 2 races.
And then Ocon was kind of falling back. Everyone was kind of just back behind him.
Even Alonso was falling back. Alonso was 12 seconds behind Max at one point.
He was.
And then Max started hitting traffic, which I think we have to talk about the fact that Max started on mediums and Alonso started on hards. And so we, of course, expected Alonso to go long.
We were I was sitting here waiting for Max to pit.
Did you expect Max to go 53 laps?
No,
I think he went 56 laps on a set of mediums.
Yeah, I did not expect that. But they were waiting for the rain, and
his tires were destroyed. His front left, he was it's not looking good. It's not looking good. And they're and then they're okay, understood. And they leave him out, and then he has to claw through traffic.
So was that a strategy?
Alonso, no, I don't think it was strategy on his behalf. I think the engineers probably knew that the rain was coming. And so they're you got to stick it out. But it got down to 5.7 seconds for Alonso. And then once Max got a little bit of, clear air and Alonso started hitting the traffic, he was able to build that back up to 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So, and then, really, there was that battle. And then it was Ocon and then Carlos and then Lewis and then Leclerc. And they were all pretty close within range, and even Russell behind. And we see Carlos, he's let's put him under pressure, Ocon. Let's burn his tires out. And he just drives right into the back of Ocon. And his front wing falls off. Yeah. Lewis ends up driving over it at one point.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
There was a little bit of debris out for everybody.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. So, and then Carlos got pitted early. he wasn't happy, and they both the Ferrari started on the hards.
Yeah.
And so he pitted early. He felt like he was going to be able to overtake Ocon. He was not happy on the radio. But, I mean, that was the least of his concerns.
Yeah.
And then what else did we see?
So then the rain started to come. And there was talk on what to do. Some cars were staying out on hards, on their slick tires, I should say. Mm-hmm. And we were kind of in that pit window for a lot of these cars. And I'm like, all right, so what's going to go on here? So some of the way far back cars, they went on intermediates first. They
Bottas.
Yeah, they had the time. They were able to test it out. And at first, they were not lapping faster than people on the slicks. They were slower.
Because it was still not quite raining. It was just like drizzling.
And so then there seemed like a key moment, and I think it was the moment right around when Alonso pitted. There was talks right before he was pitted that what they were going to do, and people were still slower on intermediates. And I don't know why I've heard some other people say their weather guy should be fired because they put him on a set of hards to come out on a cooling track.
No, I think he came out on mediums because he had to switch tires.
I keep getting the tires wrong.
Yeah.
He came out on mediums, and they just were not able to get those tires warmed up.
Well, as soon as they put him on mediums, it was the same thing with Lando Norris. Lando went on to hards like the lap before everybody pitted.
Yeah.
And it was like they came out, and then it started really raining. Yep. And then the track in that one corner was like there was some standing water. And so everyone was going off into that corner. We saw Carlos almost lose it, go sideways into the corner. We saw, I think, Stroll, who was on intermediates, go into the barrier.
Yeah, Stroll was could not keep his car on track.
And I'm not sure if the incident with Russell and Perez, I feel like they were Perez might have been on intermediates, but I think Russell might have been on slicks.
Still, yeah.
And so that's where the penalty came from, is he slid off and he re-entered dangerously.
Yep.
Perez ended up hitting him, and we somehow missed that.
It was just that, because at that point there was a lot of carnage kind of happening. There was
everyone was pitting too, I think.
People were pitting, things were kind of happening, and I think they were waiting for, for me, I was like, oh my God, when's there going to be a red flag? Because it's like, things are kind of getting out of hand a little bit here. Like, I'm waiting, people are ice skating with shoes on,
Right.
It
was like Russia 2021.
It was like Russia.
Yeah.
And for me, I think the perfect timing was right around when Alonso pitted. And
if they would have put him on intermediates,
I think he would have won the race.
You think?
I do.
I mean, I think they came in right around the same time. Max
would have been ahead, and he would have went on one more lap. That one more lap with all that extra rain could have made the difference.
Yeah. Well, Max only had to pit the once for intermediates.
That's right.
And then, Alonso, of course, had to pit twice. So.
And then they were like right next to each other when Alonso went, because Max was coming out of the pits. Alonso came back in to now put intermediates on. Mm-hmm. So I think the timing would have been right. I think it would have been really, really, really close. It would have been a battle. We would have been jumping on the edge of our seats. I think that was the mistake Aston Martin made. It was
definitely a mistake. I think Max drove very well still.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, he finished like 28 seconds ahead.
I know. With the road conditions and the weather conditions, I think he only made like one minor mistake.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean,
on set of slicks when it was pouring rain,
Yeah, really. I think he bumped the wall maybe once.
So he did and really, he was
really check to see if there's any damage, but I mean, he looked great. It was a Monaco Masterclass for Max.
It was pretty impressive. And smooth sailing from then on out. There was no way because then the rain went away. Mm-hmm. Things were starting to dry out. You could see the dry line forming, and I mean, it got to the point where Max was over a pit stop ahead. I know, and they even asked him, do you want to come in for a new set of intermediates? And he was like, nah, I'm good. Yeah. So it kind of tamed back out. There was some passings that were Haas tried to make some moves. near the end there.
Oh, my God.
It was, you said who made one pass?
Hulkenberg made one pass but got a penalty for it.
Yeah,
And then we did see Sargent get swallowed up by like 4 cars.
Yeah, that's because his tires were just falling off.
Yeah,
the cliff.
he was struggling. They even said they were trying to teach him tire management, so they put him on a set of softs, and he was like 30 laps in because he had no new sets of hards or medium.
At least the team's willing. Like they're like, all right, we're not anywhere in this. We're not even getting points. Now it's time. Here's a training session for you.
Yeah, no. I mean, hey, finish the race, and for somebody who this is your first Formula One race in Monaco, it can be really challenging for just the circuit in general.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We didn't see any big crashes. We didn't see any big major events, and really we had the 2 retirees, but I think Stroll just had taken so much impact that he was like, I'm gonna just go on my yacht. And so, it was over from there. And then Magnussen, I don't know. I feel like he was just too far gone that it was like, let's just protect the car, or maybe he had some type of an issue. I'm not sure.
They didn't really explain that one too much on the TV either.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that. So it was pretty eventful. It turned out to
get good, yeah.
Turned out to be a really good weekend for Monaco. Traditionally, I don't know if you knew this. Traditionally, they don't do anything on Fridays. I think it was a holiday in Monaco on that Friday. I think something's changed, and now they do the practices on Friday. Because it used to be they show up Thursday to do all the media stuff, and then they don't do anything until Friday.
Oh.
And then this was the first.
Till Saturday, you mean?
Yeah, till Saturday. They don't do anything on Friday. And that has been their tradition for a long time. And this is the first year that they didn't do it. And I thought it was fine. I thought we got good action. We saw the floors of 2 of the top teams. Well, Mercedes might not be the top team quite yet. But
no, but they're 1 point behind P2 in the constructors now.
They're getting there.
So I mean, it was a good weekend for Mercedes. They finished P4 and P5, so not bad damage control in front of both Ferraris. Now I think Ferrari definitely missed out. They totally lost out on the intermediate switch. And that's what did them in. So, tough. And then, of course, the 3-place grid drop. That was difficult for Leclerc, but not bad for Mercedes. I mean, I think we're really going to see, remember Barcelona last year?
Refresh my memory.
Barcelona last year, they brought their upgrades, and Lewis got hit by Magnussen. He qualified okay, but he got hit, clipped, his front wing got damaged, and he had to come out, and he was last. He asked to retire the car because he was just save the car, and they said no. And he fought back to P5. He was driver of the day. I remember that.
Yes,
and
I remember
so
that now.
I think we're really going to see what their pace looks like, and we'll have a good definition because we're on a regular track.
Exactly. I was just going to say that we're on a real racetrack. They used to test here, so they already have a whole lot of data on how things are going to go. Yeah. So, I think things are going to be a lot different. I think we can actually see what this Mercedes new car can look like. Yeah. I was calling it the B.
Well, a lot of people are calling it the W14B.
Yeah, that's what it should be called. 100%.
I mean, it's basically a brand new car. So
yeah, I mean the monocoque they keep saying is the same. They've made some adjustments on the monocoque, but it's too expensive to fix the monocoque, which is the capsule, which is where the driver sits.
Oh, how they sit too far
forward.
They're
too far forward. Yeah. So they can't fix that because that's not in their budget.
Okay. Well, they just needed to fix the side pads and the floor and some better aerodynamics. There's a shot from before the race, and I don't know what account we follow that posted it, but it was Adrian Newey staring at the Mercedes, and he's just looking at it with his hand behind his back, and the caption was, you know how girls always say, "I can fix him."
Oh yeah.
It's him saying, "I can fix it."
Yeah. He probably could.
So
he's got a lot of secrets. I mean, obviously he's got the fastest car on the field, and then the B squad really are, they're not so good though. They're struggling.
AlphaTauri, they're saying that they're the slowest car on the circuit.
So I don't know. So Adrian Newey's got something up his sleeve, I guess. Yeah. So we're kind of leading now into Spain, into Barcelona. We're 1 week out from that. Was supposed to be finishing up our triple header that we were supposed to get before we go into. I think it's a 1 week off, and then we're back on again, type deal. But yeah, I was happy with the Monaco race weekend. I was afraid going into it that it was going to be possibly a parade of sorts.
It's normally a train. It normally is.
And to most parts, it kind of was in the beginning, in the middle, and back near the end, but we got moments.
I think because too you bank so much for Monaco on qualifying, that because qualifying was so exciting, And it was so mixed up that, like, you know, the weekend just already was special and different.
It's a special place. It is. And, like, yeah, the cars are probably too big, but, you know, I mean, look how good qualifying was.
I mean, I remember last year when we talked about Monaco, we were like, should we even come back here?
I mean, you're right. You're right.
And that was like the big thing that Martin Brundle and Crofty were talking about was like, don't ever discredit Monaco. Look at this qualifying that we had. I mean, it was good. It was really good.
It's true. But, like, yeah, I don't think I said it. I know I said this last year is you can't take it away. It's just like it's the Indy 500. Of the Formula One world, of the, you know what I mean, of a world championship. Yeah. It's something that is tradition.
It is tradition.
You know, it's happened forever. It's just like all the things that happen with the tradition of the Indy 500, which is going to be on right after the you know, this Monaco race. Like that's what I mean. Like these things happen for a reason. You gotta keep it.
Yes.
It's what makes you know, this day in particular, motor racing a really good day, because now we got two really big events. Granted, we don't watch a whole lot of IndyCar, but it's two big racing events that happen in this world on one day. It's pretty cool.
Supposedly the IndyCar is the biggest racing event in the world, the Indy 500.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I think this year, if we're talking for real, it's going to be the Las Vegas F1 race. I think that's going to surpass everything.
Oh my God, I know. It's going to be, it's literally going to be such a spectacle.
I think it's going to be bigger than the Super Bowl. It's going to be bigger than anything.
I know, in Vegas. So Vegas is going to have Formula One in November, and then they have the freaking Super Bowl right after.
Yeah.
My God.
The amount of money pouring into that
Talking
town.
About booming back in Vegas. Yeah. I'm like, my God.
That town is generating billions of dollars off of these two events, for sure.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
For sure.
No, it's going to be great.
But, yeah, I mean, I feel like we've said everything we needed to say. Is there anything else that you wanted to get off your chest for this wonderful Monaco race? We're definitely going back again and again and again and again.
Yeah, I just want to say that Esteban Ocon was driver for me of the day. I really think, like, his performance for the weekend was really strong. And I just want to say that I have always believed in him.
Who was driver of the day from F1?
Esteban Ocon.
Okay.
I feel like I did that too. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you voted more than once?
I did. No, I voted you can only vote once now.
Okay,
you used to be able to vote like multiple times on F1.com, but it was like a three-way tie, Max Alonso and Esteban. And I'm like, it's gotta be Esteban. I mean, just like from being in like a car that isn't as fast as the other two and being able to hold off like Lewis and just all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And then just his lap in qualifying was so impressive.
The lap in qualifying is the most impressive. The fact, you know, before, you know, we didn't get to see any racing in Imola, but before Imola, you know, we were in Miami, and going into Miami, there was talks of like the head guys, you know, putting down ultimatums.
Oh my God, they were like,
because they were struggling.
They were like kind of like threatening.
Yeah. So I mean, to go from Miami, where, you know, I can't remember exactly how Alpine did in Miami, but I know like going into Miami that there was talks of they need to shape up, shape out.
Australia, you know, they hit each other.
Yeah.
There's been all these issues with their engines. There's been all sorts of stuff. I mean, I think going into this weekend, he either had like 6 or 16 points.
Yeah.
Ocon, and so it's like, and then he's
doubled that,
and he's French, and it's a French team, and we're in a French country, so it was a little bit extra special.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps it up here. I think we're gonna go and finish watching the Indy 500.
Yeah. Pato Award is P2 right now, so pretty impressive.
So yeah, I think that does it for us. I hope you guys enjoyed the Monaco race. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say.
Yes.
We would love to hear your thoughts. If you guys watched the qualifying, if you haven't, do it, please.
Enjoy.
Yes. Also, if you've made it this far, thank you very much. Please like, subscribe. It's helping us. We're trying to grow. You see, we have a couple followers, and we appreciate you guys all very much. And we want to keep growing this nice little fun thing that we get to do. So we'll see you guys next week.
1 week time.
All right. That's it for us. Bye.